I just found out about the Stefon Diggs Instagram post. We got you covered. Also, Super Bowl winning tight end and future track cycling Olympian hopeful Luke Willson with 2 L's, not the guy from the Royal Tenenbaums. He is here to hit the top NFL storylines. And if he doesn't bring the goods, Mr. Analyst up there in Canada, I will make him relive the Malcolm Butler play over and over on loop here on the show. I'm just feeling that kind of way today. Also, defensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, I sound like such a villain because he's like the best guy, Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, like all-around nicest human. Arik Armstead is on the show, and I just need him to tell me whose quarterback is. That's it. Let's do it. Having a lot of show, shockingly a lot of news to get to on a random Wednesday here when there should be no news, nothing going on. The NBA is wrapping up. Did the Stanley Cup happen?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Vegas Golden Knights took it home.
Oh, great.
We scored 9 goals last night.
We have Matt Hamilton here, and then we have...
a little coffee talk.
We have Brian and Eric, who you literally look like you're at an Up and Adams pop-up shop at Joe and the Juice talking about Bon Iver's leaked album last night about an owl. Is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah, free kombucha shots with a punch card.
First of all, you know what I would really like, well, here's the thing. I would, you know, we need PFF Sam Monson here, to be honest, to give us the data, the number. I'm going to ask Brian and Eric, how many times do you think or do you know, while I was doing a shoot in here, did Matt Hamilton watch Josh Allen's presser? How many times?
Oh, boy.
Ooh, 422.
That sounds pretty accurate.
I was in the conference room with him, and I think I heard on a loop at least 23 times, 24.
It's close. Between that and Burrow. Yeah.
Hammer, what are you looking for when you're watching this?
Just looking for things that jump out, those quotes that, you know, may not be getting picked up, that may give us some insight into what's going on. Especially the Diggs situation was so curious yesterday. There's a lot to have to sort through, a lot of stuff flying around out there. I was trying to just see if there were any tidbits that gave us some insight into the situation, which I think there were.
You found some, and we're going to get into it. You know, it's obviously we are not ones that want to assume, but we assumed in April when LaShawn McCoy was in our studio that why is he not showing up to OTAs? OTAs aren't important. Gronk told us OTAs aren't important if you're not a rookie. If you've been in the league for 4 or 5 years, you don't have to go. But now it's sort of coming to a head, kind of. So this shockingly busy afternoon in the NFL led us right to Buffalo with Diggs. He showed up, right? And he had his physical. And then he leaves before practice starts yesterday afternoon, curious. And that prompts Sean McDermott to say that he's very concerned. That is an aggressive, very concerned, is what he said. So Allen also spoke on the situation. It was watched 497,000 times by our Matt Hamilton. And let's give you guys just a little piece if you're not a psychopath like he is.
Oh, I know internally we're working on some things, not football related. But, you know, Steph, he's my guy. I freaking love him. I can't stress that enough. You know, there's things that I could do better, and you know, to help out with this process and try to get him back here and you know, be the Buffalo Bill that he's meant to be.
What process? Like where did we lose Diggs in the process? What's going on? I wish we had one of those nonverbal, people who can, pick up cues. He seems genuine, but he seems so measured.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And the non-football part of that is really interesting to me, but then goes and says there are things I can do better. So that's what a lot of people are trying to decipher is you say non-football, but it's not contract related because Diggs just got an extension. So what could this possibly be about? Well,
it's not DeAndre Hopkins then potentially coming in because that would be football related. But let's deal with the facts that we know. And the facts that we know are football related. It's what we saw. When you see anything demonstrative, you sort of can latch onto it. It's a memory etched in your head. And that's what we, of course, have in the snow. And it was the blow up that Diggs had on the sideline. I'm going to call it a blow up, Brian. And I'm sure you're just crying over there at your Joe potato and the juice eating your tuna melt. But, I mean, they lost in the playoffs to the Bengals. He storms out of the locker room after that game. He misses voluntary OTAs, which everybody told me, not a big deal. And you're okay, you're trying to start drama where there's no drama, calm down. And then the only reason I thought that, like if he skips OTAs, I don't care, but there were weird, cryptic tweets. And Diggs is an emotional character. He wears his heart on his sleeve. It's hard for him to pull back on that stuff. And now Diggs' agent said that there are things being worked out on the way to being worked out. Okay, great, whatever. Stefon followed later last night. By the way, we love the Bills. Their front office posted a quote from that press conference that said, we all have a lot we can improve on. Stefon Diggs is our guy. There's just a lot of like PR-y things happening a little bit. But we want it to all be okay. But then Diggs doubles down a little bit. And this might have nothing to do with it. And this might be Diggs just wanting to be really like nebulous and vague. But it said, I just be letting people cap. If them lies help you sleep better, tell them, big dog. No, but it doesn't look like he wrote this and like screenshot it. Like somebody made that? Like a graphics person made that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Graphics person.
Like what is that? Is Josh Allen the big dog? He in fact is big. He definitely has that dog in him. So I feel like big dog could refer to him. And I don't know. It's a bit dicey con carne. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is the one that spoke about this yesterday and had a lot to say, and he kept saying how much he loves Stefon. So, again, we don't want to assume things, but given that Josh was the one on the record and that quote kept getting played over and over again yesterday.
Do you know it's funny about people who are about to assume things or are assuming things? They love to say, we don't assume things. We don't want to assume things. So we're going to play the Connect the Dot game just a little bit. Now, we do not love to play the spec game. No speculation. And we are hoping that it's Stefon Diggs who either shows up or doesn't or speaks up and is a little more specific, I guess, for the rest of us who just want him to be happy. And, of course, want him to win a Super Bowl and to thrive. And the Buffalo Bills have a lot of pressure. Their quarterback is a cover boy on Madden. Is that rubbing Diggs there? Like, I don't know what's going on. I will say this. If Diggs is feeling frustrated with the way that the last few seasons have ended, and we saw what culminated in that snowy Bengals loss last year, it kind of would be understandable. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with how he's handling it. You don't have to. I don't even know if this is true, but the facts are the facts, and y'all know I'm a numbers girl. Over the last 2 years, Diggs has ranked in the top 5 in each of those categories listed on that left-hand column, okay? But come the playoffs, his looks have dropped dramatically. He hasn't found the end zone even once. He doesn't have the satisfaction of that mini miracle vibe. Give me the ball, trust me. If I'm your boy, get me the ball. He had just 3 catches for 7 yards in that wild loss to Kansas City, just 4 for 35 against the Bengals where he's going, and then he leaves, So maybe this is, I'm just speculating. Maybe, and I hate assuming, but here we go. Maybe Josh is saying this is what I can do better. In a big spot, I don't, hand it to Gabe Davis who can catch it wherever, who's open. Yeah, you've got coverage. You're my dude, and I'm still going to trust you and get it to you in a tight window. Maybe it's like about finding a way to get Stefon the ball more in big games. And I don't know what the answer is. I barely know what the problem is. And I'm not even saying that there's a correlation here, but given Diggs' visibility and the frustration of that, just after playoff losses, maybe that's something worth looking into or asking him if you're a member, of that reporting corps up there, because do with the numbers sort of what you will.
Yeah, because he even said, if you remember, after he left the locker room, he tweeted, he's like, you guys just want me to be okay with losing? That was obviously the big source of his frustration. And yeah, when you look at those playoff games, that Chiefs game, there was so much going on with Gabe Davis and Josh Allen and the comeback and Mahomes and Tyreek.
Yeah.
Kind of forget, the ball didn't go his way at all down the stretch.
Why do you think it didn't go his way?
Open.
He just covered?
I think there were some moments where, Josh was looking to get the ball out a little quicker and not going through his full progressions. I really watched that game in depth on tape. There were a couple opportunities he had where he's getting open and the ball's coming out of Josh's hand before he's even out of his break, checking it down, going somewhere else, or tossing it up to Gabe Davis. He would see Gabe Davis with a one-on-one matchup and just give him a chance to make a play. And obviously Gabe Davis did. It was working for them. But there were moments where Diggs was open and he wasn't going his way.
Yeah, let's go to our pop-up shop cafe correspondent, our super fan. That's you, Brian. How are you feeling? Are you worried about this or no?
I'm going to take the old peppermint latte view of this. We have a quarterback who's dating a celebrity. He's on the cover of Madden. And drama with a diva wide receiver is in the A block.
Diva wide receiver!
The Bills are making the A block. I love it.
Diva wide receiver. I don't know how I feel about that.
The Bills, hey, I love it.
All right,
I'm
all
okay.
right. Now, you know who I love? Buda
He'll be
Baker.
there day one.
He'll be there day one. All right, we like it. He'll
be
be there day one. It'll be okay. Stars like Buda Baker, by the way. Buda Baker, who we love on the show. Do I love him because he got drunk with me at 8 in the morning? Maybe. But, you know, and you guys all know how I feel about what they aren't doing with him in Arizona. He did come to camp. You know who else did? You got Devin White showing up in Tampa, figuring things out, even though they don't know what their future holds. So, by the way, how can you not find a way to want to keep Buda? How can we not want to keep Buda? You're effectively putting him in an impossible situation, and he decides to show up. It's a thing of beauty. Now, Chiefs, yoga partner of mine, Chris Jones, absent, notably in Kansas City. It's been out there all offseason, people, that he wants an extension. If you're just starting to dip in and pay attention because you've been watching somebody win the Stanley Cup.
Vegas?
Sure. He's been captioning his Instagram post with things like, clock's ticking. I love them. I just love the subtweet. Clock's ticking. And the Chiefs, of course, they want to make it happen with 9-5. Of course. But clearly, there's something, it hasn't gotten done yet. And while, of course, priority number one has to be to make sure that your future Hall of Fame D tackle is taken care of and back in the mix, there is another wrinkle to this, okay? A layer laid out briefly last week, and one that sort of makes that clock ticking thing speed up a little bit, even faster when it comes to getting this done. And that's the need to get this wrapped up if you actually are seriously interested in DeAndre Hopkins. Let us explain. The Chiefs have less than $1 million in cap space right now. They're definitely not landing DeAndre with that, no matter how much he wants to play with Mahomes. And he's made it clear, by the way, that he does several times. But Chris Jones, guys, is due to count 28.3, ooh, Falcons PTSD there, 28.3 million against the cap this season. Any extension they give him would drop that number and likely do so pretty significantly. So a Mahomes restructure, that's also out there, that's getting floated. Is Veach working on that? That would drop it down even further. So they have the potential to clear more than enough space to make a nuke signing work. And the path sort of makes it pretty clear. There's two questions, though. One, do they want DeAndre? Okay? Do they want to bring him in? Do they want to risk messing with the chemistry in that receiver room? It worked for them last year. They didn't need Tyreek. What a flex on the rest of the NFL that they could do that. Is DeAndre worth it, right? Is it worth bringing in, and is the upside outweigh with the potential mucking it up that could happen? And two, if the answer to that first question is yes and they want him, can they get all of this done before someone else swoops in and lands a nuke? What is the timing on all of this? Clock's ticking. Chiefs fans, let us know. Do you want Veach to go land DeAndre? Do you feel good about your receiver room and how it is as a whole? You certainly feel better about it now than you did last year when Tyreek was, saying that he's going to go run around with Tua on company. But then you won a Super Bowl, so that's just what it is. All right, we're going to take a break here because they're rushing me off because everyone's excited about our next guest, guys. Part of our FanDuel family, a Super Bowl winning tight end. Yeah, I was talking about receivers and not what? What's going on? What is this background? Luke, where are we?
FanDuel Canada is they're gonna have to declare bankruptcy when we're done with them.
That's what we run! Let's go! You've seen the Mighty Ducks. You see the quote. We're gonna crunch some numbers. And we're gonna crack FanDuel Canada.
Was that a Mighty Ducks reference? I've never loved someone more. Our next guest is bringing that winning energy right there to FanDuel. Quack, quack, quack. Cake eaters and Triple Deke and Adam Banks and Charlie Conway, Emilio Estevez, and this guy over at TSN. He's also a Super Bowl winning tight end, who played 8 seasons for the Seahawks, Lions, and the Ravens. And talk to me, Goose. Luke Willson, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm up here in Seattle. My background is a little different, but I just moved back to town. So, hiding the mess behind me a little bit. And it's been fun, though. Pretty big buzz up here in Seattle. Everyone's pretty excited for the season coming. Geno Smith, he's got control of the city right now.
We're going to talk all about that. I feel like, Tom Cruise, maybe Miles Teller should like write you a check for this free promotion, but we're loving it. We are loving it. And listen, we're going to talk NFL, of course, but you are doing something I find to be insane and cool, and I can't believe it. 2024 Canadian Olympic team, you are training for track cycling. You look lean. You look like you're ready. We're watching some of your highlights. I don't know a ton about cycling. I'm not a street.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. I got a feeling you don't like many cyclists.
I would say, it's not that I don't like cyclists, but keep it on the track. Like go to the track, and then I'm fine. I don't care what you do on the track. When you're like, when I'm getting tickets for being in the bike lane, when I'm like, seeing cyclists and they want to give me like anxiety, and I'm gonna lose years of my life every time I have to be like this as a cyclist, just like going by his own rules, then I don't love that. What is happening in this?
Okay, so that video is a little like 6-second test. It gets really nerdy, the whole cycling world, as far as like data and numbers and how much power you can produce, whatever. But back to cyclists being annoying on the road. I just want to say I totally agree with you. And it's been a bit strange. I don't have a background in cycling. And you'll go on these group rides and people will be acting like they're cars. And I'll just be sitting here like, hey, even if we are right, which most of the time we're not, if we get smoked by a car, we're on the losing end of this. Like, why not just let the cars
not in court.
Do what they want to do? But I get why cyclists are annoying. So it's been a bit of a change in that sense.
It's not annoying. It's something about like inconsiderate or something. It's like, what are we doing? Like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want any of the smoke. It's like motorcyclists too. I'm just like, but I'm a terrible. It's a whole thing. But let me ask you this. You're talking about being on these group rides and like the danger of it all. And you're an 8-year NFL pro, but cycling is terrifying, and especially from these pictures that I'm seeing. Okay, it's a pretty rough sport. There's, painful collisions. You had one. Like, what the hell happened to you?
Well, that was my fault. This was kind of early on. Again, I don't have a background. When I retired from the NFL, it was like, hey, what am I going to do now? Picked up a road bike, started riding around a little bit, and pushed the envelope a little too far. And the issue is when you go down hills, that was in Santa Monica Mountains out there in LA, and you go a little too quick into them. It's not a car. You don't have 4 wheels.
Yeah.
I actually kind of got a little lucky there. I ended up smoking a guardrail and like flipping over the edge. Another 6 feet, I probably wouldn't have been down a cliff. But
Luke, what are we doing?
Again, that was a year ago. I'm mature now. I'm a mature bike rider. I don't take those risks now.
Are you just like natural? Were you always a risk taker? Were you like the kid jumping off cliffs and like you don't like? Because I mean, you've got the Top Gun background. You played in the NFL for 8 years. Now you're doing. I mean, are you just that guy?
I'm not at all. Which is kind of funny. Is I've never really been an adrenaline junkie. Said situation with the whole face banged up that we just saw. There's a kind of an app that a lot of cyclists use called Strava, and it'll do all kind of the data that you've had, and they'll break down segments of like, hey, how fast you went last time and how fast or slow you're going this time. So I was actually, and again, many cyclists will cringe when they hear this. I was chasing a Strava segment, a kind of a personal best, and I was killing it. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm feeling great. Until I ended up over the guardrail. I wasn't feeling so great after that.
I just can't relate. Like, I've never felt like I'm more unrelatable. I don't understand why you love it. I would love to understand that. I mean, you played in a Super Bowl your rookie year. You won that Super Bowl. You're trying to get into this Olympic situation. What is, is it comparable? Do you like the track cycling more than you liked football?
No, definitely not. I think football, every retired NFL guy probably says the same thing, is you miss the camaraderie, you miss the teamwork of it all, the atmosphere. Also just the resources that were available to us in the NFL as far as like getting better. I'm kind of learning now that I've been retired. That's not like that in every line of work, especially in the cycling world. But it was one of those things where when I retired, I was 32-ish years old, 31, somewhere in there. And I thought to myself, like, what was some of the most enjoyable times that I'd had playing? And one of them was actually prior to the draft. Just kind of, I was a mid-round pick, kind of grinding. I was living in a townhome in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, training at one of the combine prep places. And as grimy as that sounds, it was kind of fun. looking back on it. So I thought to myself, hey, like it'd be fun I still got a little bit of time left on the, father time, maybe try and get into something else and start right at the bottom. And I was an awful cyclist, really bad. And I'm still not fast enough, but I'm definitely quicker, getting better. And it's just been fun to kind of go through that journey, and hopefully it works out.
And we're wishing you luck. I mean, to be an Olympian, that's rare air with the Nate Ebners of the world. And of course, there's some connective tissue between the NFL and the Olympics, and you'd be representing Canada, which would be beautiful and amazing. So we wish you lots of luck. Have you brought Techno Thursdays to the cycling world? Because we got to get into this Seahawks situation. This footage of you is gold. Pete Carroll's like 70 million years old. Father Time is clearly not have any hold on him. He's doing his thing. But he said that you always brought more juice than others. What is going on here? Take a look. What am I watching?
That's a great question. I know you know Pete and kind of the whole atmosphere up there. We would just be blaring music every practice, and it was always very high energy. And I kind of felt like in my time we had a lot of repeats, and we had not a ton of music diversity going on. So I had to kind of go to some of the captains and be like, listen, give me 5 songs and we'll play it during special teams. And it was, I call it more EDM, but we kind of coined it Techno Thursday. And they're like, all right, Thursday special teams, you got your moment. So it was a whole ordeal. And I was sitting in the, eating kind of cafeteria lunchroom with some of the guys in that video. And they're like, I'm not really the most worrisome guy. And they're like, what's the matter with you, Luke? Like, why are you so wound up? And I'm like, listen, if these songs don't hit, I'm not going to get any more techno songs. So I need to make sure this thing is slapping. And I played this song, the flute song that we heard in that video. And they're like, what is this? And I'm like, well, I heard it on a massage table randomly. I've never heard this song before. But in your playlist ends, like you'll just play random songs.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm like, this thing is going bonkers.
It slaps. It's
it's slapping. That's right.
Let's put my Macklemore jersey on and let's Shazam this song. Excuse me, masseuse. I need to remember this one.
There's a lot of layers to the Macklemore thing.
Okay.
So I'll get into that in a sec. But basically, somehow we were sitting there and we're like, why don't we do like a little snake charm ordeal and we'll all just go nuts? And then at the time, Tanner McAvoy was in the lunch area with us, and he's like, well, I want to be in this bad boy too. So we're like, you can be the little snake guy. But he was a rookie, so we can't just give him, his due. So we then had the equipment guys change his last name to Macklemore, and we had a bunch of Seattle fans being like, is that Macklemore practice? He had no idea that his last name had Macklemore instead of McAvoy on it. Again, it does look very dumb at the moment, but I swear when we were doing it, it did seem like it was a good vibe.
I mean, we've showed it 19 times now on the show, so I think I've got the beats of it down. This Seahawks team getting a lot of love. Who knew? Russell Wilson leaves, Geno comes in, stunning year. Everybody's wanting to retire your boy Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's out, living his best life, revitalized. Who knows how long he'll go now. You draft these amazing guys, Devin Witherspoon on defense. Then you get, oh my gosh, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I love. I love both of these guys. I think they're going to make a huge impact. And, we had Golden Tate on earlier this week, and he's like, I think I'd pick them over the Niners. And I'm like, who's playing quarterback for the Niners? I think I would pick them too. Are they the best team in the NFC West with the best coach in the NFC West?
Best coach, I think 100%. And I think as a head coach in the NFL, part of your job is obviously X's and O's and the people you surround yourself with. But a lot of it is, motivating and managing the team to kind of all work together as one, which is not that easy, with the money that's being made and everything that's going on. And for when you got 23-year-olds and potentially, 30-plus-year-olds in the same locker room. And that's one thing I don't think anyone can really debate is Pete is able to just get the best out of the team, his messaging, his motivating. I spent 7 of my 8 years there, and every year it just felt like, compared to some other places I've been to, that we really cared about each other. He just kind of cultivated that atmosphere. As far as them being the best team in the NFC West, I agree. I think it's a toss-up between them and the Niners. I think that, this is going to hurt me to say, I think maybe the Niners have a bit more talent on defense at the moment.
Bobby Wagner's back.
Yeah, that is very true. I do think, though, you said the Niners have a quarterback issue, which is a huge ordeal.
Yeah.
And Geno Smith is only going to get better. I'll tell you something right now. When I was there, Geno was the backup. I remember scratching my head being like, how is this guy a backup? Obviously, we had Russ. But it was no surprise to me whatsoever that he balled out last year. I put a tweet out early in the year and it was like, Geno Smith's about to go off, put some fire emojis, blah, blah, blah. And everyone was kind of dogging me like, yo, chill, man. And I'm like, I've seen this guy for 2 years sling the ball around, the way he preps. Also, again, at that position, I feel like the way the team kind of respects you is a huge ordeal, being in that huddle where they go maybe that extra inch, extra mile, whatever the football saying is.
I feel like everybody does that. I'm calling BS.
Yes.
Everybody does. Every backup quarterback, he works really hard. He can sling the ball. He's good. What would make you put a tweet out like that? You're saying you've seen him for 2 years. Get specific for me about why you believe in Geno and why he can be this guy, why he is having success.
I think when you talk about backup quarterbacks, yes, they're all generally work hard, they're in the film, or et cetera. But they are usually lacking one thing that makes them not a starter. Maybe it's arm strength, maybe it's size, maybe it's athleticism, something to that effect. Where with Geno, it was like this guy's got a cannon attached to his arm. It's certainly not arm strength. It's certainly not accuracy. And then you kind of go down the list, like, again, as I'm playing with him, maybe he doesn't see the game very well. And that was very clear in his reps when he was with the ones or when he was running the scout team, that was definitely not the case. And then it's like, okay, maybe he's a bit of a diva in the locker room, which he's definitely not that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where my head went, where I'm like, this guy's got every attribute to be a star quarterback in this league. And I think we saw it a bit last year. Now, like you said, you still got Lockett, you still have DK, you add in the youngster they just drafted who's supposed to be a generational talent. And they've got they hit huge with their old lineman in the draft last year, so their run game will continue to be stout. If the Seahawks don't win the division this year, I think they got
they're going to win. Say it.
They're going to win. I like the Hawks to really surprise a lot of people and find a way to beat the Niners in this year's NFC West.
I love it. We'd love to see it. You're laughing, but it could definitely. I think it's going to be. I said this in our group meeting like a couple of days ago. I said it'll be the pick that everyone thinks they're so bold, like in sports media, whereas everybody's making their picks in August of who's going to win the division. Everyone's saying, call me crazy. Come at me, bro. I think it's going to be Seattle over the night. I know it's crazy. But it's like, no, it's actually not that crazy. Calm down. It actually makes a lot of sense and is really well reasoned top to bottom. And they have Bobby Wagner back, who literally is the most slept-on player of my NFL lifetime.
And, again, in the locker room, he's going to be a huge boost to that team. And he knows that culture. I mean, he was one of the guys who basically created it, with the Legion of Boom back in the day. He's won a Super Bowl. For me, too, I have a feeling, I haven't spoke to Bobby in a little bit, but kind of leaving Seattle for a year and coming back will make you appreciate some of the things that you had in Seattle that other organizations don't. It's a very player-friendly atmosphere because of Pete, because of everybody involved. So I got a feeling Bobby's about to have a big year. I mean, the offense is stacked. And I'm being what here, not talking about the tight ends. I think that they get overlooked in Seattle because there's a group of them. But you look at Noah Fant, Disley, Colby Parkinson. Okay. I mean, look at these three guys. If they're in a different situation, any of the three of them, they're probably more household names, but they kind of do tight end by committee over there. This team doesn't really have a weakness. The only thing is, I'm hearing Super Bowl champions. Move over. Representing the NFC. Let's go there. Listen, you're on this jet thing. Let's pretend it's real here. And we will sink this thing. We will take this thing down right now if you don't give me an honest answer to this question. You get drafted there in 2013. Pete Carroll's setting the tone. Russell Wilson's doing his thing. You got the Legion of Boom. You got the great tight end group. I'm sure you're a part of it. You win the Super Bowl. What was truly the most important part of that Super Bowl win, without which you're not winning and making that run that year?
truly the most important piece of that Super Bowl team?
The defense. I mean, do you want me to get specifically
Sure.
what on the defense?
I want to know, like, you take this piece, this thing out, and we're not winning.
I would say, well, there's two that come, so I'll give you kind of A and B.
Okay.
I would say first and foremost is the Legion of Boom. I think that the four of them, and one of the guys I think that's not talked about enough on that four is Cam Chancellor. But the four of them and just the coverages that they were able to play, it wasn't like we were coming out here with some extremely complex defensive coverage scheme. We basically lined up, put a lot of pressure on all four of them, and said, try and throw the ball against us. And that really allowed our front seven to get sacks, create pressure, et cetera, et cetera. And so first and foremost, you look at Sherman, Earl, Cam Chancellor, and then the other, it was Browner, it was Walter Thurman, and Deshaun Shedd was in there. There's a few other guys that kind of rotated in that fourth spot. That, to me, sticks out right away. I mean, that was something I don't know that we'll see for a long time in the NFL as far as the secondary goes.
It's really well said.
And then I think that the next thing that gets underlooked on that team is the defensive line. And the reason I'm saying that, and what I felt was great about that team compared to teams that, we got close, made a couple playoff runs years later. We're not going to talk, I mean, we might, but we're not going to dwell too much on the next season. But even after that, our D-line I thought was underrated because we didn't necessarily have a ton of, perennial all-pros like we did in the secondary. But what we had was a ton of incredible football players, just NFL guys. One of the names that sticks out to me is Red Bryant. Red Bryant, when I was a rookie, was really a leader in that locker room. And I remember sitting there, he'd give the pregame speeches, and I'd watch the film and practice in the game. He'd make so many plays, but it just wasn't like, national media attention to Red Bryant. Another guy I say would Brandon Meebade. And when you had these, kind of veteran D linemen that really policed the locker room, policed the young group, because the Legion of Boom at this time was still, in my opinion, very, very young. So kind of, I think if you talk to them, ask them about those two guys, I don't know if we're as bound tightly together as a group without their leadership, but also, their playmaking ability on Sundays were second to none when it came to D linemen.
My producer, my right-hand guy just said Averill, Michael Bennett, Red Bryant were monsters before you said Red Bryant's name. So it's very true. It's very cool to reminisce about that. And now Seattle will go back to the Super Bowl and maybe win it. We'll be excited about that. But they got to get past your former Detroit Lions first. They need to, Detroit, listen, they went from their 0 to hero. Oh my gosh, no primetime love last season. Now they've got the season opener against the damn Chiefs to kick off the season. It's crazy, and there's so much hype around this team. Were they the right choice to kick off the season, and what are your thoughts on the Lions?
All right, well, this is a tough one. This is a very tough question for me because I'm conflicted here. I'm conflicted because I grew up 10 minutes from Detroit, was a pretty diehard Lions fan, dressed as Barry Sanders as a kid for Halloween. And, I wanted to see them do well. And I'll say this with certainty right now, it is their division to lose this year. Aaron Rodgers is no longer there. I think the Bears still have a long way to go. And I think the Vikings, have a lot of issues, especially defensively. Mm-hmm. It looks like FanDuel agrees with me where it is their division to lose. That being said, if there's a team in an organization that can find a way to lose, it's the Detroit Lions. I mean, a quick fun story. I remember the Monday night game. My mom worked in Detroit. This was kind of, let's call it 6-7 years ago. Okay. They came to Seattle, and it was the infamous game where KJ Wright tipped the ball out of the back of the end zone. My mom calls me. She's like, "Hey, Luke, everybody at work's kind of giving me a bit of a hard time. Like, there's no way you guys lose to the Lions." I'm like, "Mom, might have been, I think it was Monday Night Football, or it was at least Sunday night if it wasn't." I'm like, "Mom, there's no way. Pete Carroll era, we don't lose on nationally televised games. They're coming to Seattle. Like, we barely lose here. We're going to blow this team out." We get down there, Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson, it's a 2-minute drive. They're driving down the field. They're at the 5-6 yard line, and Cam Chancellor punches the ball out, fumble as Calvin Johnson's going to the end zone. I don't know if you remember this at all.
I don't.
But it was, so they should have won, and then there was a whole ordeal with, we tipped the ball out of the back of the end zone later and it should have been a penalty, whatever. At the time it was CenturyLink was going crazy and I was on the sideline. We were like, okay, we won this one. It was really tight. And a friend of mine, Cooper Health, and another tight end on the team was like, Luke, why aren't you very happy? And I was kind of sitting there like a little melancholy almost. And I was like, Coop, since I've been about 7 years old, this is my childhood right here. Like I just started thinking of everybody in Windsor, Ontario, all excited because the Lions were to come to Seattle, beat us on primetime game. It was somewhat earlier in the season, and they just choke and blow it. And I look at this year for the Lions, and I'd love to sit here and pound my fist on the table and say they're going to win this division, they're going to be dynamite, et cetera, et cetera. But I can't do it. I can't do it. I think they'll find a way to choke. I think they'll find a way to lose. I think that this organization is cursed, and it hurts my heart to say, but I think it's going to be another year of disappointment for Detroit Lions fans.
You brought it. I was going to show you that Malcolm Butler interception. I'm not going to do it. You brought the analysis. You like the Lions might Lions it up. Old Lions. People are saying it's the new Lions. But I want to ask you, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. So before you go quickly, those battles were epic. We were all at those Jordy Nelson games. I remember losing years of my life more than like a cyclist on, Santa Monica, in Santa Monica, going down Ocean Ave, because those games were epic, right? It was like year after year, playoff before you even got there in 2013. You guys took care of business and won that Super Bowl. And there were these amazing rivalries that always went the distance. What about Aaron Rodgers, now Jet, Mr. Million-time MVP? What stood out about him in those games, and how terrifying was he as a threat?
I think the biggest thing about Aaron is obviously he can sling the ball like we've never really seen, his arm strength, but his ability to extend plays. So he's got all the tools as far as like, hey, he's got Jordy Nelson, he's got guys around him that he's got great chemistry with, and he's extremely accurate. But even if you stop the play or you cover everything right, he's very sneaky, athletically, and kind of, hey, shift the pocket, create a little after the play scramble, not to the Russell Wilson, like kind of circus scramble vibes, but almost, hey, we shifted the pocket. I found my guy. I slung an absolute rocket in there. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's another first down. So I think his ability to extend the play was really, really impressive beyond everything else that he does.
Were you more worried about him in those big games, or were you more invested in belief of Russell Wilson? What was greater, the fear of Aaron Rodgers, or the faith in your quarterback?
Faith in my quarterback. Come on now.
Come on now. You're reckless. You're living on the edge. Who knows what the hell you're going to say? It's Luke Willson.
No.
Everybody, you can listen to him and check him out up at TSN. You can also check out his podcast, All Time with Luke Willson, an Olympian hopeful. We hope you get there, and good luck with everything. Watch your face, though. I mean, oh my gosh, wear a helmet. What are we doing? Bye.
I'll try my best.
Thanks, Luke.
See ya.
Arik Armstead, I've never seen him mad. I've never seen him upset. He's like the best guy on the planet. But Luke Willson just said, the Seahawks are winning the NFC West. He's not going to like that. But look at that. Who are we holding there? Oh, what up, George? We got Arik Armstead with us next. He's a big boy, and he's a huge part of San Francisco's dominant defensive line for the past 8 seasons. Arik Armstead, it's been 8 seasons? What?
Yeah, going on 9. It's been a fun ride, but it goes by quick.
What's your favorite memory? Looking back, and you got the best ones probably ahead of you, but if you had to paint a picture of what that moment was for you with 8 seasons behind you, what is it?
Definitely, I'll always remember, 2 seasons in particularly. 2019 was a great season where we, finally got things turned around here, and I've been playing some good football ever since. And then 2021 season was a lot of fun too, just starting off 3-4 and really having to turn the page, and that run we went on, and came up short. But those years are definitely a lot of fun.
And now you're the OG showing up to mini camp yesterday. You're probably like, oh, here, another one of these. And you had some injuries last year, so I do want to know how you're feeling. And then I want to know what the vibe is around the facility as a veteran.
I'm feeling great. Looking forward to a great season. Looking forward to going out there and dominating. And I feel like, we have a really good vibe around the facility. This is probably the best team I've been a part of from a roster standpoint going into a season. So it's going to be really exciting.
And how's the new DC? That's a bit of a change. How's it going with Steve Wilks so far?
It's been great. He's, I heard a lot about him before he got here. I had a few friends reach out that played for him and told me that I was going to love him. And, they were 100% right. I love him. He's been great for us. And we're not changing up too much, but I think he's going to provide another element to what we have been doing in the past, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Be a little more specific there. You had D'Amico Ryans. It's a huge story. He's getting a coaching gig. I'm sure you have lots of beautiful, wonderful things to say to him, and I know it's early in you and Wilks' relationship. When you're excited about Wilks, what specifically are you looking forward to?
Well, he's a back-end specialist, coverage specialist, and so I think adding that to, what we do up front and not changing stuff, but continuing to have another year where we get better, sharpen some things out, things that, we were the number one defense last year, but we believe that you can always get better, always play better ball, and clean some things up. So I think he's going to help tremendously on our back end, getting those guys communicating and on one accord. And, if we have, like I know we're going to have, those guys being sticky in coverage, we're going to be able to get after them up front. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And
you have a new guy on the team. I want to say he's a friend, but he was a former Eagle. So Javon Hargrave comes over. He wants to help. He's a big guy. Has he talked a lot of trash to you guys about that win last year? How's that going down?
Nah, I mean he hasn't said. He's a pretty reserved guy. I don't think he would ever talk in that manner. Me knowing him thus far, but he's a great player. Excited to get out there and take the field with him, and he's gonna bring a lot to our defense. And he's an excellent player. He's been dominating in this league for a long time now. So it's going to be great taking the field with him and going out there and playing together.
Eric, who's not excited? Any of those quarterbacks. not Gino, not Kyler, not Stafford, not anybody. Because this D-line now, you got it. Is it the best one you've had in your time with the Niners?
Well, we have some pretty good ones throughout the years, and you were just getting started on our journey. Guys are just getting here, and so we're gonna have to go out there and put the work in. Like I said, I believe in everyone we have in the room. We have starters, on the whole defensive line. So we're going to be rotating and sending in guys at a high clip, and our expectation for ourselves to go out there and be the best. Our organization has obviously invested up front and have been doing that for years. So we always put it on ourselves, and we know we're going to have to play at a high level to get to the place we want to get, which is winning the Super Bowl. So we're excited for the challenge, and I definitely think we have the guys to go out there and get it done. You
have kind of a smile, like you guys know what time it is. You know what's up. You know what the window is. And I'm really looking forward to it this year. I've had a couple players come on the show recently and really talk up Pete Carroll, best coach in the division, best whatever. Defend Kyle Shanahan here. Let's give the mastermind some love. What's Kyle got, and how have you sort of seen him change in the past couple of years to get ready for what's ahead of him in a legacy-making season?
Yeah, well, I think everybody knows Kyle is an offensive genius. It's been great to see, his maturation process really as a head coach. I've been here the whole time since he's been here, and he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed much, but I think, as he's grown, as we went through adversity, as we've gone through different things as a team throughout these years, it's made him much more seasoned, much more prepared for different situations and different moments, and really unfazed. We went through a lot as an organization this time in his tenure here, and so with that being said, we flush that, we move on. We're preparing ourselves for a regular, a new regular season, and like I said, we definitely have the team to do it, and I'm excited about this year, and excited for the opportunity that we have.
I want to be excited with you, Eric, and I'm excited about the defense, of course. But who's your quarterback?
Oh man, I don't get paid to make that decision. No, but we have a lot of great quarterbacks.
Okay.
Trey really hasn't, unfortunately hasn't had an opportunity to, show himself. Purdy came in and really provided what we needed to take it, thus far to the NFC Championship. And Sam Darnold's a great quarterback too, very talented, and he brings the element I've been seeing in practice as well too. So, I'll let them figure that out. Let them sort that out.
Yeah.
But I'll be comfortable, taking the field with any of those guys.
I have a joke in my head that like Kyle just likes, because he's such an offensive mastermind, that he gets bored, that he doesn't want to have one. He just wants to show what he can do with 3 different guys or 2 different guys. He just can't. He likes the drama and the soap opera of what it is for everybody else to sort of decide. Now you had a bobblehead of George Kittle. George Kittle said that Trey Lance looks like not like a different quarterback, but he's really progressed, and he's noticed that I think the quote was that he's significantly better than last season. Have you seen that out of Trey? What have you seen out of Trey?
I've seen a young guy come in and, really start to mature. You got to remember that Trey's still real, extremely young, and, didn't have much experience. And the more experience you stack, the better you are. And I think that, he had a tremendous OTAs and looked very well. And, I'm really excited for him and his career. And so, I think the sky's the limit for Trey. And, I think he's an extreme talent that just needed to stack up those reps.
Just a couple more here for you, Arik. That Brock Purdy run was probably the most exciting 7-8 week stretch of football last year, like as a fan. Like I was watching and like, what the hell is happening? What is this? How is this going on? What do you remember from those weeks, week in, week out? What was that magic like?
It was special for sure. My first game back from injury was the Miami game where he came in, and you saw flashes of it, in preseason and in practice at times. And really for me, the first thing I noticed was just his playmaking ability, off schedule, just a different element that guys don't always play with was pretty special to me. And then, he comes in and things don't skip a beat, and, we go on that run. It was amazing to see, especially for a rookie, a guy coming in really confident, looking unfazed, and really going out there and delivering. So it was definitely amazing. And, he deserved all the love and everything that he got. And definitely excited for what he's, going to do for our team and capable of in the future.
Love it. And I love Christian McCaffrey, but I don't want to see him out there. So I'm glad you got Darnold. I'm glad you worked it out. Nobody needs Christian out there throwing the ball. Love to see it once in a while for fun, but you guys will have that figured out, of course. You are always willing to help. You are a perennial, year in, year out, Walter Payton nominee of the year. Even if you aren't, you are that guy, and it means so much. And it's going to take in that locker room, outside of the locker room, every little bit to make that team better, to make the NFL better, to help the community. And you're doing so in a really big way this Saturday in Sacramento, hosting 500 youth. Tell me all about this.
Yeah, so, I'm excited to finally have my football camp again. This is the first one I'm doing post-COVID. So really excited. But every time I do something in the community, I want to bring a new and different element. And so this year, we're having our football camp, and we're using football to not only just be about football, but we're having it at Sacramento State University. And I feel as a kid growing up in Sacramento, I wasn't on a college campus enough. And so we're using football to bring 500 kids on Sac State campus. We're going to do a college tour as well as a football camp. And we're also going to have social, emotional wellness programs. We're going to be speaking about mental health, how to identify it in your friends, how to identify issues with yourself. And so I'm using football to, serve youth in a multitude of ways. And it's not just about football. It's about, total wellness and their lives. And so being active, their mental health, and then also, thinking about what they want to do with their future and getting them on the college campus and exposing them to that and thinking, hopefully, they're thinking about college and their future and and what they want to do in their life, which is going to be
Arik.
some amazing things.
It's amazing. That's a lot of kids. You're going to have your hands full. And as I understand it, your wife is a big inspiration behind those wellness talks. And amazing that Drew Robinson, also of the Giants, will be there helping you in Sacramento, where you have the key to the city, as I understand, which we're going to have to learn about that next time. We appreciate you. Good luck. And we'll get all the information for kids to sign up in Sacramento. Thanks, Arik.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.